Blessed love and peace. Let's follow up John briefly. Back in the day when a youngster acts up and does something stupid, ignorant, what the parents say, what the teachers say, what the elders say, what the clergy say, what them say, what were you thinking? What did you expect to happen in doing that? What did you expect to accomplish by doing that? If a child was stealing something, like, what did you think was going to happen? If a child was trying to get revenge on something, but a child just like beat the wall, what were you expecting to happen with that? So then just like go through that process of reasoning. What was supposed to happen? So that's what we do here in this situation. Like, talk to kinfolk, like, what were you expecting to happen with this situation? What are you expect to accomplish? What do you expect to happen? So, for example, like very literally, like seriously, what are you saying? What are you trying to say? Is this just like a venting of a way of showing, like, feeling like we've insulted you, whoever you are, or whoever you think you are? Like, do we insult you? And so this is a way of getting back at us and taking us down a level, or degrading us somewhat so you feel better about yourself, or that you feel better in the eyes of others, that you have some semblance of respect better or whatever. Is that what this is? And that's it? And then it's okay. And if we do it again, then you do it again. And otherwise, is that what this is? Is it a matter of like teaching us a lesson of like not learning to stay in our lane or something like that, and not to set trip or whatever it is? Because again, like we said, like we got we got what they say, epidermy. We got a lot of epidermy. So who are you for us to be making that adjustment? Can you specify, s'il vous plaît? Because we know you don't like the other people that we talk about. So are you asking us to also be like, to keep everybody else's whatever out, that whatever? Because we're not doing it regardless. But I mean, just understand where we're coming from. Like, we don't know who you are specifically. Who is you? And who are we supposed to be further cautious about who we talk about? Is it black people? Is it white people? Is it Italians? Is it Jews? Is it Muslims? Is it Asians? Who are we supposed to be further careful about who we talk about? Who are we supposed to be further attentive to about who we talk about? Poor people, rich people, genius people, ignorant people. Who are we supposed to be further careful about if that's what this is? If we insulted, this is just a hit back. We haven't knocked anybody else's joint over. We haven't done that to anybody. We haven't urinated upon anybody else's joint. So, if this is a tit for tat, we haven't even done tit. So, what is this? What are you saying? If this is like a threat of like, if you don't stop doing this, then we're gonna step it up. This is just the first thing. How much does that go? Are you threatening lives? Are you threatening murder? Are you threatening torture? Is that what this is? And this is the first step towards that? Or is this just, you just focus on property? Are you just focusing on inanimate objects? And so you're not going to take it to that level, but you still want to be seen serious? Is that what this is? How are we supposed to take this seriously? Like, we can make presumptions, but we're not God per se exclusively. So again, can you use your words? Because we honestly don't know who's doing this specifically exclusively. Is this just the pedophilia? A lot of people try to take a piss here. Lots of different people to try to take a piss by the sukkah. So is this like a next step up? A lot of people, over half a dozen kinfolk in front of my face, of different walks, different colors, at least hired, So like, how are we supposed to interpret this? Genuinely, we genuinely are soliciting that information. It's not trying to be self-incriminating or whatever else, but seriously, like if you're trying to make a message, we need some like further clearness about this, because we got a lot of kinfolk that we deal with. So you can, and again, like, you don't want to deal with the kinfolk that we deal with. So, and we have to think, we genuinely, I told you, we dealing with black militants, we dealing with Italiano brethren, we're dealing with Jewish brethren, we're dealing with Muslim brethren, we're dealing with pedophilia brethren and sister, and LGBTQ brethren. Are you a Banti boy? Who are you? What are we supposed to be doing? What are we supposed to be careful about? We're not going to be careful, but I mean, and I'm not trying to be antagonistic, but seriously, we can talk. What is it that you specifically take issue with? What we communicate? What falsehood have we proclaimed that you are taking grievance with? Genuinely. And then what do you expect? What do you expect to happen from this? Do you think that we're going to be fearful of this? And I'm not trying to be belligerent, but is that what you're trying to do, to intimidate us, to stop? Because if you do your research, like, we've already been tortured, brethren. I'm beyond life at this point. I'm not invincible. But this is a Valhalla type situation. This is honor. We get cred for this. It doesn't hurt us. We get cred. So what are you trying to coach? What are you trying to do with this? Seriously, no cap. Just what are you trying to do with this? And I'm just like, think about this. What are you doing? Because, like, yeah, I mean, we get inconvenienced. We got to fix things up. That's gonna maybe be a cost. We might get a whole brand new one. Kinfolk might come out the woodwork. Don't know if I'm not going to presume that. People don't have to, but that's how the game works. And kinfolk might do that just kind of, I was like, yo, we doing this so they support us. They might do it to try to, like, politicize this or whatever else. We're not trying to do that. But, like, is it to cause economic damage to ourselves and set us back or whatever? Is that what this is? A punishment and a penalty for something we've said or done? Have we disrespected your women? Is that what this is? Because if that's the case, yo, let's talk about that, because you might have some legitimacy with that. That might be a thing. If that's it, yo, let's talk about it. Let's sit down and talk. Who is it of your daughters, your sister, and your wives, or whomever else that we may have caused offense? We're willing to talk about that honestly, off record, and additionally, proper. If that's the situation. If this is a menace to society, we don't like what you talking about our cousin, we can talk about that. You don't need to be on camera. You can say, yo, be here at this time. Without devices. Okay. Now, if somebody picks us up on that, it's going to have to be legit, because if otherwise, it's consequences. And that's not threats. Again, well, again, and that'll segue into this next part of what we got to share. So basically, again, just to wrap this up, what are you thinking? What were you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you trying to accomplish with this? Because it hurts in certain ways. It also helps us in many ways. People see what we're talking about. 2 a.m. in the morning, talking literally about peace. And then as we're talking about that, boom. So now kinfolk better see what we're talking about, what we're dealing with, why we leave the country, and what happens when we're forcibly deported back here, and who's involved in all of this at this point. Now kinfolk better see. And so is that what you're doing? Are you actually helping us? Are you actually presenting us with further evidence about the affliction that is amidst us? Is that what this is? Because actually that's probably as plausible as any other scenario, to be honest. And it may be a combination of all that, which brings us again to the segue that I just said a minute ago. Loop-de-loop. Which is this. Could be just angels. Seriously, I was looking at the video just a second ago as I was clipping it up. It could be just angels. Simply. And like somewhat of a next level type of my experience, at least personally, with angels. Because usually it's not as conventional of having driving devices and stuff like that. So we could be on like next level in terms of interacting with demons and angels at this point. And it could be a flex. Like it could be like the spirit world, the dreaming, and the heavens like flexing. Like this is the level of demons they're dealing with now. You see that? We got demons that drive. That's what they're dealing with. Earthlings. You wanna flex or whatever else on these earthlings? These are the demons that they wrestling with. You see what we saying now? Cause it's not a logical thing. Kinfolk just coming up out the blue. We ain't threatened nobody. We have not threatened anybody. We don't wish harm on anybody. So this type of antagonism, even just being lump sum in some other kind of group and hype and propagandized or whatever else, whether it's Israel, Palestine, or whatever, like that don't float. And again, if the streets is trying to like purport that, the streets is tripping because kinfolk know better. Ordinary, even quote unquote white bread kinfolk know better. So if the streets are trying to pull that, like it's like what? Go on with that. You got corny folk telling you go on with that. Serious. That's how it be at the moment. So it could be just angels. It could be just demons emerging from thin air and tire tracks. Crash, crash, bang, bang. Bye, bye. Invisible. Where were the plates? What's the names? Where are the fingerprints? And again, in interacting with the brethren, when I talk, you okay? Again, they might have been talking to each other, just coordinating, getting out. But skills, and even in that scenario of his drunkenness, not saying it was, but even that scenario of it being drunkenness, of intoxication, maybe not alcohol, maybe something else. I've seen the videos of people just being like this. But if people are like this, then people can't be like this. And if people are like this and like this, high functioning demons. And that's what we're wrestling with. And so gangsters and governments that trying to come at us, like we said, you do not want these problems. If that's the scenario, if you're hiring it, then you still don't want these problems, even though you're hiring the problems. Anyways, all that being said, teachings of His Majesty Haile Selassie. I mean, this is. I'm not gonna dismiss this kind of adversity because it's continual, and there's no refuge. Like wherever we go, it happens. It manifests one way or the other, and we're projecting it too, as I've said before. But when we look at our teachers from before, from the ancients, Moshe Rabbeinu fleeing for his life from Mitzrayim, the Buddha fleeing from his indulgences of his father's house, Jesus wrestling with his own family, disbelief, devaluation, and otherwise, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam going to the cave, living in the desert. Kinfolk through the ages experience affliction, acute and chronic, and give us examples, give us guidance, teachings. Lao Tzu, Kong Tzu, traveling from place to place, wrestling with corrupt ministers, death threats, death attempts, and additionally, our teachers and our prophets and our ancestors share with us methods, discipline, wisdom to proceed through this. And the stakes only get higher. The angels and demons only get further skillful in wrestling. So for gangsters and government, scientists, no, that's a different song. I used to rule the world. That's the other one. Anyways, let's get the references correct. It's been a while since I've let go of the Coldplay from my iTunes. But anyways, peace and blessings to Coldplay. Like a lot of kinfolks who have earthly powers, earthly riches, earthly positions and credentials, don't want what we are working with, and it's not ours, but it's around us. And anyone who approaches us in proximity has to deal with it. Friend or foe has to deal with what we deal with, and that's one of the challenges of having friends and foes. We have no enemies that we are at. Some people might look at us as enemies, but we have no enemies. And in terms of friends, we have to be we're being further withdrawn from friendship because we recognize like we have to be further attuned within our immediacy. And so that's what it is at the moment. So that being said, His Majesty Haile Selassie I, example of calmness, of deliberation, of persevering through the persecution. Gambaru, keep your head up, focusing on the priorities, the priority necessities, water, food, shelter, clothing, and then also the priority next steps of solution. Who do we talk with next? What do we endeavor? Where's our state of negotiation with this party over here? Step by step, methodically. And the meanwhile, prayers and meditation, as His Majesty does as well. And that's one thing I'm working on right now because I have yet to do it for a couple of few. The light shines on. The light shines on. Turn on the light forevermore. Shine on me. Turn on the light forevermore. Shine on me, shine on me, shine on me, shine on me. Put me on the path and let me find my way. Let me find my way. Turn on the light forevermore. Shine on me, shine on me, shine on me, shine on me. Practice. It's been a minute since I've been in my music practice of singing. So we got to be less sedity and sign up to the song fair. With all thanks and praise to the Most High Elohim, blessed love and peace in Rastafari.